So welcome to this video, and if you've got a 2024 Series 9 Fiat Ducato or similar Citroen Relay or Peugeot Boxer, and you wonder how to check your oil levels or where the AdBlue level is, then stick around because this video is for you. Now this video is the first in a series of videos I'm doing on the Fiat Ducato 2024 model Series 9. And in the first video I'm going to be looking at the dashboard and some of the controls. In the second video I'm going to look at the multimedia display, and in the third video I'm going to look at the built-in sat-nav, satellite navigation. So stick around, hit the notifications icon and you won't miss any of the videos. So let's get on with it. Right, let's start with the steering wheel controls. So over here you've got 4 arrows, and these arrows are used to navigate through the dashboard menus. I'll cover what each of the menus do in a minute, and when you get to one of the menus you can use the up and down, and to change anything you press the OK button. On this side you've got the make a phone call buttons, and that uses the display over there, and you've got the voice command prompt. Navigate to Ferry Meadows.
Do you want Ferry Meadows or Ferry Drive, Peterborough?
1.
Ferry Meadows. This is everything I found. Which do you want?
1.
Ferry Meadows Caravan Club site, Ham Lane, Peterborough. Want to go there?
Cancel.
Cancelled.
Because we're already there, of course. And these are the phone buttons. Obviously you press the phone button and you get the menus. So you have to use a touch screen to select the contact and call them, and it can end the call doing that. On the right hand side, this is all to do with the cruise control. So that one switches the cruise control on. That sets the speed, obviously whilst you're driving. I'm not driving at the moment. So that sets the speed, or that reduces the speed. I normally use that one to set the speed, and if I want to reduce the speed you can just press on that, or press on that to speed up. If you cancel it, the cruise control's still on, but when you're ready to resume you can press that and it will go back up to the speed you set previously. You've also got a limiter there which will limit you to a certain speed, so you press the limiter and set the speed with the plus or the minus buttons. It's all fairly straightforward, and when you're finished with the cruise control you can switch it off by pressing that button. Cruise control off, it says on the display. This button here that looks like a little speedo switches the cruise control on, so it's now ready to accept some instructions, and to set it to a certain speed is you use the plus and the minus buttons here. So I can set this to say 45 miles an hour, and that's cruise control set at 45 miles an hour. If I press the brake it cancels the cruise control, and if I want to resume, press that button and that will resume the cruise control. If I want to take the cruise control off, in other words coast to a stop, I press the cancel button and again it will cancel the cruise control. And that's basically all there is to it. Use the plus buttons to set it, and you can increase the speed or decrease the speed, or you can cancel it. That's the cruise control. Now let me talk about the limiter. The limiter is slightly different. What the limiter does is it limits the speed that you can do. And if you can see that, but I've got a limit set at 57 miles an hour. Let me reduce that to say 44 miles an hour. In a bit of traffic at the moment, but that is now, I can't go faster than 44 miles an hour no matter how hard I try. and it will just feels like you're being held back basically. So that's useful if you're stuck in a jam. Perhaps some Scottish motorways have a 30 limit, and you'll be speeding up and slowing down all the time, so you can use that. Set it to 30. So I'll try and get up to 30. There's nothing happening. I've got my foot on the accelerator and nothing's happening. It's actually going downhill a little bit, so it's gone past the limiter, but I can't accelerate past 30. And to switch the limiter off, you simply press, and you get that beep as well. Switch the limiter off, you just press the limiter button. So underneath the steering wheel we've got a little rocker switch here, and on this side that controls the radio, so up and down the channels, and if you press that one it goes searching for a radio. Hardly ever use that thing there, but it's there if you need it. Likewise, you've got a rocker switch underneath the right hand side of the steering wheel, and that allows you to control the volume up and down on the multimedia system, up and down, or mute. The middle button mutes it, so that's quite useful. Let's see if I can show you the dashboard in more detail. So if I go, I'm pressing the left arrow here. So first of all, home, and that's the sort of normal screen that you're on, and that shows you the miles per hour, obviously. So over here, obviously you've got the rev counter, you've got the engine warning light. Obviously the engine's not started at the moment. Over here you've got the thing that keeps coming up all the time, and that's the AdBlue warning. I'll come on to that in a minute. Over here it tells you what gear you're in. That tells you what speed you're doing in kilometres per hour, and obviously this one tells you what speed you're doing in miles per hour. Over here you've got the time. That's the frost warning. We've got some frost this morning. Over here we've got the fuel gauge, and it goes up in increments here along there. Seatbelt warning light and handbrake on warning light. And over there is the range. So if I go left, I've got the vehicle set up. So display, if I go into display, it's got the screen set up, and you can choose in there what you want on each of the screens. So if I choose bottom left, you can choose the compass, for instance. I'll choose bottom left. Not sure I want the compass there. I think I prefer miles per hour. But quite useful, isn't it? You can change what you want actually in the thing there. Second scale means in miles per hour. So if I then go to the centre, same thing, you can choose whether you want the odometer, audio info, the time, external temperature, or the date, or the compass. I'm going to leave it on that. On bottom right, you can choose whether you want the time, the odometer, external temperature, same sort of thing. And restore settings will put it back to the default, which I've pretty much got it on at the moment anyway. And you've got the dimmer, and that chooses how bright the display is. I've got it on maximum at the moment for filming purposes really. Reset trip B, I'll come on to the trips later. And if you want to see the navigation when you're driving, you can either have a map or written instructions. That means turn left at the next junction, that sort of thing. Would be quite useful to have the map on. We'll keep that one. Then you've got security, whether you want the passenger airbag on or off. I'm going to leave it on. Whether you want the speed beep, and that's to warn you if you're going over a certain miles per hour. I've got it set on 70. Safety and assistance, how high you want the buzzer volume, that is. And we'll get it on mid which will probably do. And that's the buzz that you just heard. So that's the vehicle setup. The next one onto the left is alerts. So this will warn you when there is an alert. So I've got the AdBlue alert, which I seem to get when we get about half empty. Over to there, we've got the map display, because I turned the map display on, so it will show you the map on there, which is quite nice. And then we go over to audio, it tells you what's on the radio, or if you're playing Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, it will tell you what's on there. It doesn't always update, to be fair to it. It only tells you the first track you ever listened to, which is a bit weird. The next one over is vehicle info, and this will tell you, first of all, when your service is due, what the temperature of the water is, the oil level, the oil temperature, the oil life, the charge in the battery, and the AdBlue level. Like I say, I get an alert when it gets down to about half. And I'm just using the up-down buttons here, incidentally. Now, if I use the left button, I've got the trip. Now, trip A is the one that is used for recording a whole of a tour. I use it for. And it doesn't reset, so if you just left it, it would just record all the information all the time. So you can use that. I use that on a journey, so if I'm going on a tour, I would leave that, I'll set that when I leave, and then I can figure out how many miles we've done, how long we've been travelling, and how many miles per gallon. It's averaging 26.8, and that's towing at the moment, so it's not too bad. Trip B basically resets itself every time you start the engine, which is a little less useful because if you stop and fill up at a fuel station, it then records the distance from the fuel station, which is a bit daft. Right, just gone to the left again, and we're back to home. So that's the dashboard. Right, so on the sticks here, we've got the lights on, that's the headlights. There's no side light thing there, and you've got the directions left and right. On the other side we've got the wiper control. Best not to use that whilst you've got the screen cover on, and it basically intermittent faster, and then low speed, and then high speed. So, and then pulling the stick will do the windscreen wash. Again, I won't do that whilst I've got the screen cover on. Down here you've got some more controls. That switches the start-stop on or off. That switches the rear fog light on. I haven't got a front fog light on here. And this adjusts the headlight levels. And you've got different settings and whether the headlights are pointing up or down. Generally useful if you have a loading problem, you've got a large load, you can adjust the headlight setting so you don't dazzle oncoming drivers. We've got the ignition key here, usual sort of stuff. Switch the ignition on there and turn it again and it starts it, nothing different there. The steering column adjusts just up and down, it won't adjust for rake. And the lock is under there, I don't know if you can see that. You can lock it off when you pull it up and just lock it off there. Got the 9-speed automatic on this, and usual thing is press the button to release it. You have to have your foot on the pedal to get it to change gear. I won't do that now because we're parked up. You have got a drive mode here, and I've pressed the drive mode button. It's normally on normal, I should say. You press it again, it goes to the power mode, which presumably holds onto gears a bit longer, or the eco mode, which doesn't hold onto gears a bit longer, as I understand it. I normally leave it in power. At the bottom here, we've got the various buttons that do various things. So we've got the hazard warning lights, the heated front screen, the radio on or off. I'll come on to the main display in a minute. Lock the doors or unlock them. That's traction control. Okay, and this one is hill descent control. That will only work whilst I'm in gear and the engine running, but it will use the brake, it will use the engine to slow you down if you're going down a very steep hill. The heater controls, this has got climate air control, so generally all you need to do is put it on auto and adjust the temperature and it does the rest for you. Air conditioning on. But if you need a bit of a boost, you've got the heated front screen and then switches obviously everything on. If you want a big boost, you can switch it on max. You can choose where you want the blowers directed, different places. Generally I'll leave it on auto. And if you want to use recirculating, if there's horrible smell out there or smoke or something outside, you can switch that on. And that switches it off. You've got blower control here as well. You can speed it up, slow it down. But like I say, I generally leave it on auto. It does most things. So I hope you found this video useful. And if you did, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and hit the notifications icon, and you won't miss the next video in the series where I'm going to be looking at the multimedia display in this vehicle. So catch you soon. Bye then. So in the media settings, we've got the sources that obviously you can select, different sources. If we choose DAB radio.